in the situation where you would torture a bully, you would probably quickly lose the stomach for it as you realize how much pain you're causing someone else. That's what makes us sociopaths different, because we don't care. So I don't talk about this a lot, but I actually spent about 2 years being a car salesman in between college and law school. And that was an experience that I will never forget. One of the lessons I learned is that if a deal is too good to be true, there is really something wrong with it. And that is a lesson that our protagonist should have learned in this week's movie, Fantasy Island. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Review. I am super stoked that movies seem to be coming back, and there's new stuff available almost every streaming service. And that means we can get back in our regular schedule, 2 episodes per week, every episode broken down super easily. We're going to talk a little bit about the people making a movie, a little bit about the movie, and then at the end, I will give you my recommendation on whether or not that movie is worth your time. Now, I remember Sundays at my grandmother's house after we would get stuffed with some amazing food, go out into the living room, sit on the plastic-covered furniture, and watch some of the old TV shows that she loved to watch. One of which was Fantasy Island, with its super weird assistant character, like, "Boss, the plane, the plane." It always creeped me out a little bit. And I was really worried we were going to go down some rabbit hole with this movie that would make me feel that same kind of creepiness. But before we get too far into the movie, let's get through the pleasantries, shall we? Fantasy Island was directed by Jeff Wadlow. It was written by Gillian Jacobs, Christopher Roach, and Jeff Wadlow. It is starring Michael Peña as Mr. Rourke, Maggie Q as Gwen Olsen, Lucy Hale as Melanie Cole, Austin Stowell as Patrick Sullivan, Jimmy O. Yang as Brax Weaver, Ryan Hansen as J.D. Weaver, Portia Doubleday as Sloane Madison, Michael Rooker as Damon, and Parissa Fitz-Henley as Julia. It also has guest appearances by Mike Vogel, Kim Coates, Robbie Jones, Charlotte McKinney, and Joshua Diaz. So what if there was a place where your wildest fantasies could come true? That is the concept, of course, of Fantasy Island. If you've never seen any of the old episodes from, I think, the 70s, maybe the 60s, whenever that show was out, then you may not really grasp what's going on. But essentially, Fantasy Island is a place that you can travel to when you're invited. And when you get there, your wildest fantasies can come true. But much like Aladdin and the Genie, or really any kind of media that involves genies or jinn, you must be careful what it is you wish for, because these wishes have a way of turning and going very negative. Your dream can quickly become a nightmare. And when we meet our cast of protagonists, they're all arriving together on the island. They've flown there together, and the plane was so loud we couldn't get to know each other on the plane. So now we get to have our introductions in front of the camera, I guess, when it catches us on Fantasy Island. And I will say, like, as a side note, I love Blumhouse. I love everything that they work on, and I would just probably watch it just because it was made by Blumhouse. Like, I want to see all the stuff that they do. They are doing exactly what I want to do, which is take big ideas, big pictures, do them on a small budget and kind of a relatively small scale. That's where I want to be in 5 years, hopefully less. And that it's kind of encouraging, and I want to encourage them because I want to support them. And honestly, that is why I saw Fantasy Island. It was in theaters back when we could go to theaters. And I specifically remember every time it came up, should we go see this? I didn't go see it, and I regret that. I think this movie would have played out really well on the big screen. But watching it at home, by myself, being able to turn down the lights and kind of get a little scare going, I think it was just as good. But at the beginning of this movie, like so many horror movies, I suppose, I couldn't really tell that it was going in the direction of a horror movie. It was like, I know it's Blumhouse, so I assume it's going to make this turn, and of course I know the concept of Fantasy Island, but it was like, hey, all their stuff is coming true. And maybe it's not exactly, maybe there's like a twist, like there's a lesson in all of their fantasies playing out, but it doesn't seem like it's super negative. And then one of the characters, Melanie, her fantasy is to torture her high school bully. And so then she gets led into a room where the bully is strapped down, and she starts like pressing buttons all over the place, and every button has something else that it does. Like it zaps her, or it dumps toilet water on her, which is something that the bully did to her at a dance. Very reminiscent of Carrie, I guess. It's an homage, maybe. And things just start to go awry. And of course, it's always great conceptually to say, I would love to torture my bully. But if you're ever in the situation where you would torture your bully, you would probably quickly lose the stomach for it as you realize how much pain you're causing someone else. That's what makes us sociopaths different, because we don't care. But very quickly, people start to see the whole concept of be careful what you wish for. One of the lessons from Aladdin is you have to be very specific about what you ask, because, and I had to pause right there because I was thinking there was a movie where someone played the devil and gave out wishes, and I can conceptually remember the movie. I can see the image of the actress. I want to say Brendan Fraser was in it, and Elizabeth something. She was in Austin Powers as well, and it came out around the same time. And like, that was the trick, is that you have to be very specific about what you ask for. Like, I want to be wealthy and live on a great estate. And it turns out he was put in the body of a drug dealer, and the cops were raiding the place. So he didn't even get to enjoy it that much. Like, that was... I wish I could remember what movie that was. Nonetheless, that's basically what they have to do, is be very careful about this fantasy, because if you say, I want to play soldier, which is what one of the guys does, he was never allowed to become a soldier because his dad was killed overseas and his mom never wanted him to go into the military. So he became a cop, and even when he had a chance to be a hero, he stopped and couldn't be a hero because he was so afraid about disappointing his mother. Well, he gets to be a soldier, and things are real, like real bullets and really getting shot at. And maybe that's not what you wish for. You kind of want more Call of Duty, where you get to be the hero and you get to take round after round, and you pick up a medical kit and bloop, your health comes back. And, maybe more like a movie where bullets fly past you and every shot you take kills somebody, like James Bond. And of course, there's the atypical, like, I want to fix this mistake. I want to relive this moment. I want to have a party pad where I can just be the center of everyone's attention and be like a super rich person for a weekend, and all of those typical things you might expect. But as we get into the second act, things start to go very awry, and that's about as far as I can go without giving away anything major about the movie. So we're going to step away just for a minute. I'll do a small spoiler section, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my overall thoughts about this movie and whether or not it's worth your time. But if you don't want to hear the spoilers, jump down to the time down below, because those spoilers are about to start right here. Okay, so kind of stepping through some of the spoilers, like, this is one thing I'm going to say, and I'll probably repeat this at the end, but this movie kept me guessing the whole time. I was trying to figure out what was going on and how they were going to get out of this thing the whole time, and I did not predict what happened, and it caught me by surprise. And I'll get back to that, but just keep that in mind. It caught me by surprise. But Maggie Q, her fantasy about going back to this moment, reliving this moment, and being able to make the opposite decision, and realizing that, like, she is so damaged, she doesn't know if she deserves love. And I was like, wait, let me pause this for a second. What is going on? I've had 2 movies that have made me cry in like the last 3 years, and that moment between Rourke and Maggie Q's character, I was on the verge. I was like, I feel like this is my life. Can I go to Fantasy Island? But I don't know what one moment I would go back to, because my life's just been a series of bumbling into the wrong decision and then cleaning up the mess that's left over. And the brothers partying, and then like, oh, it turns out it's a drug dealer's house. I don't want to say I predicted that, but I was like, there's something about this house. When they went into the panic room and the armory, I'm like, something about to go down. They got a lot of bodyguards, and Charlotte McKinney doesn't just hang out with you for no reason. But if Charlotte McKinney wants to hang out, just give me a call. I'm available whenever. But I think I'm most related to Melanie and being able to torture your high school bully. Like I said kind of earlier, it seems like a great idea. You probably don't want to go through with it when it actually gets down to it. It's super weird. And I feel weird saying this because obviously the fantasies aren't fantasies. Like, if you want to torture your high school bully, they go kidnap your high school bully and bring her in, and then you torture the actual person. It's not holograms like Melanie kind of throws out early in this. And I had the thought early, I was like, it would be super fun to just like kill people. And that's probably because I'm crazy. But also, then I was like, I feel really bad for thinking that when I found out it was a real person and not a hologram. And yeah, The more I do these reviews, the more I realize I probably need like professional help. I have deep-seated emotional problems for which I should seek counseling. But instead, we're just going to keep doing reviews and not having sleep, because that's definitely going to help. So here's kind of my problem with it. I said that it kept me guessing the whole time. And that's because there is nothing that would lend you to believe that the ending was the actual ending. When Gwen starts to like figure it all out, and she's like, these aren't really our fantasies. This is us being in our fantasies, but it's being twisted by someone else. We are here as part of someone else's fantasy. And then she thinks it's Julia, or what's the situation? I don't know. Like, that caught me by surprise. And I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Like, because Sloane's here and she got drawn into Melanie's fantasy. So maybe all of you are here. Maybe it's like an Inception thing with levels. Like, she's here as part of one person's fantasy, and you are all here as part of somebody else's fantasy. And obviously there was the moment of like Maggie going into her second fantasy bit where she sees that night and she wants to save the guy and she tries her best, but she can't. And it turns out everybody's there, everybody except for Melanie. But so here's the problem I have with it, that there are times when Melanie is all alone. She's all alone and she's still panicked and she's still rushing. She's trying to escape. And it's like, why? If this is all you, and I mean, I guess that's the point. It's all Melanie. Melanie is the one who brought all these people together, and they killed Nick, a dude she went on one half a date with and then got stood up on a second date. And now she's going to kill 7 people over it. What? Girls be crazy. But nonetheless, but like when she says, oh, it was me, this is all my fantasy. I knew about Fantasy Island before any of you knew. I brought you here so I could confront you. And like basically says what Gwen said earlier. Like, oh, that she wants to confront us in person. She wants us to know why we're dying. It's kind of the whole thing. And then I was like, wait, wasn't she by herself at some point? Didn't she plan the escape? She like called the plane that got blown up. Why would she do that if this was all her? And it didn't really make sense. And like, that's the frustrating thing about this, is that like, I want the ability to figure out what's happening during the movie, because I'm like to feel smarter than everybody, I guess. I just want to know what's going to go on, and I want to try and figure it out. This is also a reason I was really frustrated by Knives Out, because I didn't realize until too far in the movie that the murder is not the mystery. It's the mystery of what happens after the murder. And I'm like, oh, should have been paying better attention to the other stuff. But with this one, there was no way to figure it out. She was panicked. She was trying to escape. It makes no sense that you're the killer. Why would you? I don't understand it. But apparently she was. All that being said, the Patrick diving on the grenade at the end and being a hero like his dad, like, do we need that? Do we need that moment where she comes out and throws the grenade up out of the fountain? Like, and all of Gwen and their pleading with Rourke does nothing. But he has like a 2-minute conversation with his reanimated dead wife, and he's like, I'm gonna give this all up and save people. I don't buy any of it. And also, does the rule of the island apply when you're there being tortured for someone else's fantasy and you get like a miniature messed up version of your fantasy? Somehow that counts as yours? Like, you don't get another one? That's crazy. Anyway, so it was Melanie all along, and then Sloane gets the everyone's had a fantasy except for Sloane, and she's like, oh, you're gonna wish to be with your husband? No, I'm gonna wish for you to be with Nick forever. Jump scare. Got me. Did not see that coming. And again, it's one of the things I love about Blumhouse is that like it's funny and yet still scary, and they do the jump scare stuff even when they don't necessarily have to. It's like we were wrapping this thing up and then but speaking of wrapping things up, let's get everybody back in here and let's wrap up this review. So the spoilers are done, and we're gonna get to my final recommendation right now. So I said in the review about Bill and Ted, it ain't gonna be competing for Oscars. Fantasy Island also ain't going to be competing for Oscars. It just came onto Stars, which is where I saw it. I'll have links down below for where you can find it online. So I know it was in theaters about 6 months ago. Then it went to VOD for a while, and now it's available just to stream on paid services. It's not an Oscar winner. It's gonna be some fun jump scare entertainment. Again, it's Blumhouse. You know what you're Saw and The Purge. Like, these are the kind of movies that you're getting into. Like, there's going to be a concept. They're going to stick to it. May not make total sense, but they abide by the rules of the universe they've created. And for me, that's how I stay in with a movie. Just don't violate your own rules and we'll all be good. So I think I also said about Bill and Ted, like, hey, sometimes you just want to kick off your shoes and enjoy a movie. And this one really did kind of have me like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, who is he? What's even happening? I don't understand. I'm so confused. And there's something good about that. Just getting lost in a movie universe for a couple of hours and enjoying it. So because of that, I can't say I enthusiastically endorse this movie because frankly, it's not a great movie. But if you just are looking for something that you don't have to invest a lot of time in, you don't have to invest a lot of energy in, and you don't have to worry about getting like into the characters and all of that stuff that may come along with like a vivarium that's way more complicated, or a Palm Springs that's way more complicated, then this movie is perfectly good for that. This is a great date night movie when you're in quarantine and you're doing like what I am and staying socially distant and only being around the same people, but you want to have like a little night between you and your significant other. This is the perfect movie for that. It's like 90, 100 minutes, 110 minutes maybe, and you can just like cuddle down on the couch and get a little scare in, and at the end of it you'll both be laughing about how silly it was, but you still enjoy yourself. And again, that's what these reviews are about. It's about the enjoyment level. And for that, I can say it's not a waste of time. You know, listen, I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm running for president. You can find all the information for that at robcheekforpresident.com and at robcheekforprez on social media. I got a daily podcast I have to put out. It's Rob Explains. You can find more about that. It's on social media. I got my own social media at Robert N. Cheek on all social networks, and working on my website, robertncheek.com, where you can find links to these reviews and the podcast and the books on Amazon and everything I'm working on. And of course, my weekly podcast with my buddy Corey, Oh the Anthem. New episodes of that every Tuesday. So I got a lot going on. And sometimes it's really nice to just turn the brain off and say, I'm going to enjoy something simple. Just a Blumhouse horror movie with some jump scares that doesn't make 100% sense but follows its own rules. And there's something great about that. But that being said, there is some blood. There's some guns and gunfire and gunshots. You don't see like a lot, but you do see it like, oh, he got shot. And there's also some like knife and some explosives. They like drop a grenade in a baseball pitcher that pitches it out, and the grenades come into play later as well. So, I mean, like, there's a little bit of violence, not a whole lot. Then Melanie is also torturing the girl, so there's like a little bit of touchy stuff there, like she electrocutes her and drops water on her. And there is a really terrifying guy who is supposed to be the embodiment of her therapist from when she was younger, called Dr. Torture. And so it's scary, but listen, it's a horror movie, so if you wouldn't really like a horror movie otherwise, you're not going to like this one. But if you're looking for a slasher film, this ain't it. There's not a lot of blood and gore. It's just kind of like moving the story along. The violence moves the story along. But if you're down for all that, I think you're going to enjoy it. And like me, just be able to turn off your brain for a little while and enjoy some entertainment. But don't turn off that brain for too long, because I got another episode coming for you in just a couple of days. As a reminder, 2 episodes a week, every Thursday and 1 day in between. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel, that you turn on notifications so that you know when the next episode is live. But until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, especially if you're on Fantasy Island. Have a great week, everybody.